Fantastic. Thank you very much for the very kind words, Alex. And thank you to the SaaStock team for such a fantastic conference so far. Really excited to be here today. So, as Alex said, I'm Phil from Oxx. I'm a principal, and we're a dedicated B2B SaaS investor investing at the scale-up stage across Europe and Israel. So, my session today is really going to be talking about scaling with speed. So, how to rocket ship and scale as effectively as possible after you've hit that elusive product market fit stage. And to that end, I think my presentation is going to be split into two parts. The first part I'm going to be talking about is really how to know when the time is right, how to know when you've got the foundational building blocks in place so you can scale very, very rapidly and grow very efficiently. I think the second point to the presentation is really sharing some of the key strategic lessons from some of the best quality software businesses that we've been fortunate enough to work with over the last few years. So, worth aligning at the start on what on earth we mean by product market fit anyway. For a term that's used so widely in the industry and bandied about, it's not really one where there's a very common definition, and certainly not one where people align on the same sort of terminology for it. At Oxx, we subscribe to the Mark Roberge of HubSpot and Harvard Business School fame perspective, which is, for a SaaS business, really the best compelling evidence you have that you're achieving product market fit is retention, pure and simple. Of course, this retention is a derived or implicit indicator that you're really getting the evidence of true product market fit, which is that you've got a product that there's a really compelling use for the new customer base. But leveraging some of Mark's work here, but adding our Oxx flavor to it, this product market fit stage really comes at the start of your journey as a SaaS business. It's the slightly scrappier stage in a software company's development. It'll typically be founder-led sales. You'll be trying to get companies on as early customers as efficiently as you possibly can, and really working to prove value day in, day out to get these clients to be retained over time. And the entrepreneurs in the audience won't really need a reminder for this, but it's a very challenging stage in the development of a software company. Depending on which study you see, something like 9 out of 10 businesses, startups really fail to make it to get compelling evidence of product market fit. At Oxx, we specialize in the stage slightly later than this. This is really where we think the go-to-market fit is the critical scale-up stage of a software business. The focus changes quite significantly here. Whilst you're looking earlier in terms of company retention, here it's really all about proving scalable unit economics. You're not just selling anymore to the true believers, the early evangelists in the product. You're really looking to attract a much wider majority of people to your software solution. And your go-to-market team, whether it's product-led growth or whether it's traditional sales and marketing-led, it will really be starting to get more scalable, more codified, not yet fully predictable, but getting there. The numbers are slightly bigger in terms of fundraising rounds and the letters are higher in the alphabet, but it's still a really precarious and perilous stage in the journey of a software business. A lot of companies don't successfully make it through to the growth stage or to an exit event. And we think this is because there's a number of businesses that don't really learn from the lessons in the past. And there's quite a few common mistakes that we see founders making time and time again. And hopefully the session today will be illustrative and informative on how to avoid some of those pitfalls. So after you succeed through the go-to-market fit stage, that's really when you're at growth and scaling. This is all about sort of proving what works and not screwing up. So talking about some of the mistakes that we see founders more commonly making, this is really one of the key things that we see time and time again, is founders thinking they've hit product market fit too early, raising very large rounds of funding and trying to throw money at the problem, scaling at breakneck speed, throwing money behind sales and marketing, and assuming what worked in the past will necessarily continue to work in the future. Sadly, in a lot of cases, this is the dark side of blitz scaling that doesn't always work out according to plan. There can be really unfortunate outcomes around poor decisions, missed opportunities, wasted money, unnecessary dilution, and often overlooked, actually, the human cost of individual burnout and a lack of retention of employees as the business doesn't scale very effectively. Now, I know this will be a controversial slide to some, so it's worth saying that blitz scaling can be a very effective scaling strategy, but only if it's done on solid foundations. And actually, we at Oxx think this is relevant for a much smaller subset of software companies than often it's given credit for. So the main problem here is how do you know when the time is right? How do you know when the foundations are solid and you're ready to scale and try and get this rocket ship growth that you're after? Well, we've mentioned that we see the product market fit stage, as all about retention. So can we be quite reductive about this? Can we give you some particular milestones and particular metrics that if you hit these, you'll know for a fact that you've really achieved this product market fit stage? Well, the typical metrics that are given in the market are if you're achieving a logo retention of somewhere around 90% a year, and net revenue retention statistics of over 100% on an annualized basis, probably even higher if you're an enterprise-focused customer, then I think most people would say that's a pretty good signal that you've developed and you're selling a product that there's a really compelling need for in the market, assuming, of course, this is to a slightly broader range of customers than just your early adopters. But the problem you'll face in some situations is if you're a particular type of business, say you're an enterprise SaaS company, you're selling 2 or 3 year paid in advance contracts, big annual contract values, long sales cycles, it's going to take you a really long time to collect enough proof points for this. And the last thing you want to do is sit on the side while your competitors raise lots of funding and steal your market share. These retention stats are lagging indicators by their nature. So what we increasingly see a lot of best-in-class SaaS companies doing, even before the Series A stage, is developing these predictive leading indicators of retention. There's absolutely not a one-size-fits-all model, unfortunately, for exactly what this looks like, but there's certainly common characteristics that we see that are common in most software businesses' predictive models. These can be around the number of users or teams using the product. It can be around the number of sessions or logins that people have. If there's different parts of the platform, it could be different modules that people are logging into, or indeed on engagement more specifically, the number of actions that people are taking in the platform. We've drawn some arrows around here because this should clearly be an iterative process. You should learn as you go, and you should be able to back test these results against your outcome stats for your gross and net retention. Now, this isn't just an academic exercise that should be done for interest. This is something that should be a really core part of the jobs for your customer success and customer support teams. This should be able to steer those teams into the highest value clients in your existing customer base and take remediating action to try and fix any problems. But related to the topic that we're talking about today, the reason this is important is it will give you even earlier conviction that you've managed to hit product market fit, and so you're ready to scale very, very rapidly. So if you've ticked a lot of these boxes that we've mentioned with product market fit, you've got a market for the product that you built, an emerging loyal customer base, and your engagement stats and retention starting to look really good. Congratulations, achievement unlocked. So what comes next? At Oxx, we subscribe to this go-to-market fit stage as the critical scale-up stage for a successful SaaS business. If product market fit is all about proving there are customers out there who value your product, go-to-market fit is all about whether you can identify, segment, reach, sell to, onboard, and upsell them, all in an economically rational way, underpinned with sound reporting and solid unit economics. Now, let me go back here. Timing and measurement is absolutely critical at this stage. As we've said, it's very easy to scale too quickly and blitz scale, and this can lead to really unfortunate outcomes, or scaling too slowly in this market environment can also be really damaging. As we've mentioned, your competitors can raise lots of money, and the last thing you want is them taking your market share. So what are the things that you should be measuring at this stage? Much like in the product market fit stage, you should be measuring the retention statistics. In the go-to-market fit stage, the things you really need to be measuring are around return on investment. So the typical statistics that we're looking at here are around the lifetime value of a client, the cost it is to acquire these clients, and on capital efficiency, what the payback period is, the months it takes you to recoup your upfront investment in sales and marketing costs to acquire them. Again, there are general benchmarks here on what good looks like, a true LTV to CAC ratio of 3 to 4 times, and payback periods that are commensurate with the size of business that you're targeting. If it's an SMB software platform, for example, you might be looking for sub 12 months, or mid-market and enterprise, you might be looking for 12 to 24 months. Well, you need to consider these things in conjunction with each other. But we would argue that if you hit the foundations and you've got some good early evidence on return on investment and your payback period, that gives you a good indication that you can put some additional investment into your go-to-market machine and it's going to return some productive outcomes to you. But this isn't just about metrics in and of themselves. There's a really important cultural underpinning that people have mentioned in some of the other sessions today. In the product market fit stage, you'll be going through and developing a minimum viable product. You'll be experimenting, you'll be iterating with this. There's a direct counterpoint in the go-to-market fit stage, which we call a minimum viable go-to-market test. And what the go-to-market team will be doing is expanding on multiple fronts at the moment. You might be moving into a new territory. You might be expanding to the US. You might be deploying product-led growth to move up market into enterprise clients, or going into entirely different sectors. The key here is what's happened in the past isn't necessarily going to happen to the same degree in the future. So it's worthwhile getting the dashboards and the early warning signs in place as best you can, which is why we've copied here a great piece of content from Insight Partners, which they call their periodic table of sales and operating metrics. Now, unless you're colorblind like me, if you're tracking this, you'll be able to see things flashing red and green in real time, playing a game of go-to-market whack-a-mole to see which things are working and which things aren't. But you really need the culture of experimentation and ownership around some of these metrics that you've built in the product market fit stage to continue to apply in the go-to-market fit stage. So I think this brings to an end the section I had on getting the foundations right. So you should be able to now know convincingly when you're at product market fit stage. You should be able to know on the go-to-market side what your rough return on investment is for customers. And you've also got these dashboards now in place with the cultural underpinning of ownership. So what are 4 of the key strategies that we've seen time and time again software companies successfully deploy to scale very quickly? The first of these is all about specialization within your go-to-market team. Now, there's an obvious point here, which is specialized resources tend to perform better than jacks of all trade. Within the go-to-market team specifically, what we mean here is there's generally a distinction in the new business team between SDRs who are focused on qualifying the opportunities and account executives who are focused on closing them. There's also typically a specialization you have between this new business team of SDRs and AEs against your upsell focused team of account managers who will be focused on retaining your customers and upselling to them, the traditional hunter versus farmer distinction. There's, of course, many different ways you can specialize within the go-to-market team, be it on SMB versus enterprise or different verticals in different sectors. The really important thing here for us isn't just that specialization improves performance. It's specialization makes hiring easier, and hiring quickly and efficiently at the scale-up stage is one of the compelling differentiators that you can have as a business. Unfortunately, I think the session just after me today is going to go about this in much more detail. The really key point for me in the go-to-market team around role specialization is you should be able to see this quite quickly in your sales and operating metrics. If you're hiring quickly, you're hiring efficiently, you're making fewer mistakes, you will see the time to quota for your account executives reduce, and the average quota attainment for your account executives also improve significantly. Given this is one of the main drivers of revenue growth in software businesses, this is really one of the important things that we would recommend sorting out up front is the design of your go-to-market team, specializing roles to an appropriate level. So point number 2, I'm afraid, is a little bit of a cliche in SaaS land, but absolutely a cliche for a good reason. Net revenue retention is one of the magical features of software businesses, and doubling down on this can be one of the most effective strategies you can deploy to grow very quickly. What we've shown here is just a very high-level straw man model of a company where the only difference between the business on the left and the business on the right is their net revenue retention statistic. So the one on the left retains 95% a quarter, and the one on the right retains 105% per quarter. Purely as a result of this difference in net revenue retention, within 4 years, the company on the right has achieved double the revenue of the company on the left, despite exactly the same new customer acquisition. Now that's quite a dramatic change. And what's more, the valuation impact is going to be even more significant because, quite rightly, both public and private market investors are paying a real premium for companies with top quartile or top decile net revenue retention. Now, this slide isn't just me waxing lyrical about the benefits of compounding cohorts over time. One of the really important things here is trying to fix retention as early on as you can. The benefit of this chart is really that things compound over time, but it also means mistakes compound over time. So it's worth investing today to take whatever action you need to fix retention, whether it's changing the product itself, changing the structure of the go-to-market team, investing in integrations, onboarding team, whether they're inside your organization or outside, whatever the solution is, it's worth trying to fix that if you can today. The second point is it's really worthwhile analyzing the return on investment for your new business activities versus your upsells activities. We've done this for a number of portfolio companies where we've seen there's a significantly higher return on investment, particularly for land and expand models, by investing a marginal dollar in upsells versus new business. Now, if this is something you're interested in doing as a company, shameless plug here, we've written an article on exactly how to do this called Advanced SaaS Metrics, and it's available on the SaaStock website. So recommendation number 3, we've spoken indirectly about focus so far, but really what we're speaking about here is making sure that you have an absolutely crystal clear laser focus with your proposition on exactly the customers and the economic buyers that you're looking to target. So this clearly comes in many shapes and sizes, as we've shown on the left-hand side of this chart, but we absolutely subscribe to the crossing the chasm view that it's much better to build a distinctive brand in a more clear market opportunity and then build on from that than it is to win in a much bigger market segment by shouting louder than anyone else. There are 2 important corollaries for this at the moment. One of them is on pricing, which I don't have time to go into a lot of detail today. I think the main thing to say on this point is that your pricing should really be value-based, focused on the client usage, client engagement, or the value indicators that your target buyer is really getting from your software solution. We think this is likely to become a key future battleground, actually. If inflation returns in the macro economy, more and more later stage companies are bringing on pricing specialists. So making sure that this is focused around your end user is really, really important. I think the second point more broadly is one on positioning. And what focus really enables is absolute clarity in your positioning. You've got to get mind share as you're crossing this chasm from your early adopters through to the late majority. And if you don't have this distinctiveness and this memorability, you're absolutely not going to succeed in the shorter term or longer term at gaining share within the mass market. So the fourth and final recommendation that we have is really investing ahead of the curve in your scalable demand generation. When you start in the product market fit stage, your business will look a little bit like the picture on the left, a slightly ugly ice cream cone with lots of different flavors being thrown into the top. As you go through the go-to-market fit stage, you'll start to see a little bit more predictability in your top of funnel. Now, it doesn't matter where the top of the funnel leads are coming from. If it's product-led, if it's freemium, inbound versus outbound, it's not really important. What's critical is it's well designed to the type of business model that you have, and there's a good level of rigor and predictability in the leads coming through the funnel. Again, this isn't just of academic interest. There's big operational benefits that can come from it. If you have a technical pre-sales team or heavy onboarding and implementation requirements, for example, if there's not strong predictability coming down the funnel, that can lead to real delays in getting customers onboarded. It can also cause a huge amount of friction between your sales and marketing team, which absolutely no one wants, and it can cause real headaches for your business. So that brings me to the end of my session now. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. Hope it was useful. Please do feel free to reach out with any further questions. I hope you all enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks, Phil. Great talk. Really appreciate that. Fascinating stuff. And thanks so much.